G'day people and welcome, I'm Sharon. Big thanks today to Valma, who has loaned me her Janome Skyline S9, which is also known as the Atelier 9 in some parts of the world. I'm going to start by winding a bobbin. This is the top of the Skyline S9. When I open it up, there's been a little bit of damage to that part of the bobbin winder. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start by winding a bobbin, and I'm going to use blue Racant thread. Putting it onto the spindle. If I try to put the spool holder that way around, it's actually quite hard to get it to stay. There's not a lot of thing for it to grab. So I'm putting it on back to front and putting it inside the cardboard centre. I've got the thread coming out at the bottom at the front. We are threading the bobbin, and this you won't be able to see on the video, but there are broken lines, and we're going to follow the broken lines for a bobbin. So we go in here and under, and then the broken lines follow around here. There's even a picture of a bobbin. I'm going to come around there and across. I've got my bobbin. I find the easiest way to get the thread in there is to fold it in half and give it a twist, which makes it a bit stiffer, and then I push that bit of thread from the inside to the outside of the bobbin and put it on the spindle. I move that across. I'm going to turn the machine on. Because this is an electronic machine, if you have the bobbin pressed over towards the right, then the machine will give you an alert on its screen that it is winding a bobbin. Hold this up. Now, with this particular machine, there's a start-stop button. Start-stop button will not work if you have got the foot control inserted into the machine. The foot control overrides the start-stop button. So to use the start-stop button, you will need to detach your foot control. So rather than me having to press on the pedal, I'm just going to start the start-stop button, and you can see that start-stop button there. Once I've got enough thread on the bobbin that things aren't going to come off, I'm going to cut that off very close to the bobbin. Holding the thread, cut it off close to the bobbin. Cut those threads off short. Make sure they're not hanging off anywhere around your bobbin, because having threads hanging off around your bobbin is the easiest way to have to find yourself buying a new bobbin case. On the start-stop button again. Put as much thread on there as you want, and then click over to the left, lift it up, and take the thread under the cutter. I'm going to thread the main body of the machine now in red thread, mostly because it's easier for you to see. Before you start threading the main body of the machine, press the needle up-down button twice, once down, once up, and then lock the machine using the key. That's the way they want you to do it, and really the needle threaders don't work if the machine's not locked. Once again, the thread is coming out underneath from the front, and I'm putting that on backwards. This time I am following the unbroken line. So we go in here again, around, there's a 1 here, which is indicating that bit, around to 2, come down to 3, up and around 4, and at this point I want to be holding near the bobbin as I go through the take-up lever, and that's to make sure that I get properly into that take-up lever. If it wasn't at the top when I started threading, I need to get it there for doing my threading, and I'm going to give it a bit of a tug here to just make sure everything's properly in at this point. Then I go down the front, we come down to 5, and we go in there. Then the guide that is just above the needle, and now there's sort of a V-shaped piece here, we're going to go into that. When I pressed the lock key earlier, it put the presser foot down. The needle threader does not work if the presser foot is not down. I am now going to firmly depress the needle threader. And it has taken the thread through to the back. And out it comes. My experience with these needle threaders is 3 things. Do that needle up down before you lock the machine. That makes sure that the needle is in the right position. Lock the machine so that the foot is out of the way when you're trying to do the threading, and it is depressing the needle threader firmly. If you do it just softly, it probably won't work. I do apologise for the waviness on the screen. I now need to unlock. Now I will insert the bobbin into the machine. To open the cover, pull the little black piece to the right and lift it out. There's a picture on here of a bobbin with the thread coming off to the left and then going under something and up to the right. We're putting the thread in like it's a letter P, because we're all practically perfect in every way. Thread in, finger on top, bring it over to about 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. That is the bit we need to go under. There is actually numbers happening here too. So we go under that, bring the thread around, up until it goes in here where it says 1, bring it around, across into 2 and pull. There's another little blade in there that's a thread cutter, and that has just cut off the thread at the right length for the bobbin. I do not need to lift that thread up to the top. There is also a cutter at the side of the machine. Take your thread to the back and bring it forward. I've got 2 layers of fabric below the foot, and I'm just going to start sewing. And you'll see that that foot put itself down, and now it has stopped with the needle in the down position. So as I sew, each time I stop, it will stop in the down position. I have got videos showing what you do with the lock stitch and the reverse key, how to use the needle up, down, and the slider, and also what to do with the start-stop button. I do not, however, have any videos at the moment about the foot lifter and the scissors. The machine has put the foot down on its own. I still have an option to lift it manually. But if I lift it manually, the machine cannot put it down. So if it's in an up position manually, that overrides the machine being able to do it itself. And if I tried to use the scissors at the moment, it won't let me do that either, because you've got to have the foot down for the scissors to work. So when the foot is down manually, the machine can work it. It cannot work it when it's up manually. Now the next thing is, here I have a foot lifter, so I can do it with an electronic foot lifting, and when I do that, when I start sewing again, the machine can do it itself. So that one is perfectly functional in terms of the electronics of the machine. It is the manual one. When you put it in a manual up position, the machine cannot then override that. The foot's down at the moment. I can put it up, scissors, and it will all work because it's manually in the down position and the machine can make all those things function. One of the things you probably will want to do is stitch, lock stitch, and then scissors. I kept my foot on the presser, on the foot pedal, until it had finished the lock stitch, and then I did the scissors, and that is the effect you get. So you get about 1 centimetre, a bit under 1/2 inch of thread after the lock stitch. The other thing to notice is that we have lights. So if I do some sewing, there's a lock stitch light on at the moment, so I can do a lock stitch, and I have kept my foot on until that's finished, and now I take it off, and you can see there is also now a light on the scissors. If I use the manual lifter, and I'm going to do the lock stitch, so I need to put my foot down and keep it down. If I, at this point, lift that manually, you can see that the light has gone out on the scissors. So the scissors will no longer function because that's in the up position, down position. Manual up and down you can use, but it does mean that some of these bits won't operate, mostly the scissors, and those are the things you need to learn to play with first. If you're wanting to do embroidery, you're probably going to be wanting to use bobbin fill. We use this in the bobbin for embroidery because it's fine, and because it's fine we can get more meters of it onto a bobbin, and therefore we can do more sewing with it. It is not very strong, but it's perfectly sufficient for embroidery. The problem is that these have an enormous hole in them, and you can't put them on the spool pendle that you would normally use for winding bobbins. So I'll show you how to wind from one of these. There's this attachment that goes down in the hole. You can place your thread at the front and go through that, and then do all the standard things to get your thread over and wind it on the bobbin winder. Once again, huge thanks to Valma for letting me loan her Skyline S9, which is also known as the Atelier 9 in various parts of the world. I am really grateful for that opportunity, and I have been making a lot of other films about the machine. Hopefully they will work with the screen because it's hard to film it and not get lines waving across it. And I shall see you next time.